Okay, perfect. So just a reminder, everybody, that's in this meeting, this is a public meeting, so it is being recorded. It will be made available to you all. So if you do have any questions, you will be able to review it. Also, the chat has been turned off. This is always just something that we do. And so if you have any questions, the panel, speaking to the panel in particular, just unmute and ask me. Mostly we turn the chat off because then we would just have to read everything into the record, and it's just easier if we kind of have the conversation rather than me reading. So we'll go with that. Also, for the record, sorry, I'm Rachel MacArthur. I'm staff here at CJC, and I've been tasked with moving through this presentation today. As mentioned, this is the panel. It's not as big as it was last time. I think we had some people that moved on from these positions. And so as we're kind of moving into this new grant cycle, we're going to be working on building this out and working on making sure it's there's more members, but we're in the process of that. And it just kind of ended up to where this is where we're at with this particular grant cycle. So as we move forward, these members will increase. Just a reminder, if the two of you were at the pre-meeting in July, this is kind of the different roles that we have. This is also a bit of a unique meeting because funding is not attached. And so this is the difference from last time where everything was reviewed individually. Funding this time is not attached. And so it's really just looking at the programs and to see whether or not they can move forward. The funding piece will then be made after the commission decision with these, which is actually next week. So that's why we appreciate the two of you being here today so that we can move forward with that. So this really is just to kind of look at these organizations. And as I mentioned before, you all asked us to bucket these in a different way than they have been in the past. So the organizations that were requested and approved last time where there were no changes, we put them in tables, so you will see them. And then there are a few that do need to be reviewed by you all, and we need feedback on. And so we always put this in here. This is conflicts of interest. Gil, you and I kind of addressed this earlier. The one in particular that's a new program is from Deschutes County. I don't think that you have a conflict just based on your position and the program. But if you feel as though you do, you have every right to say so. But that's kind of part of that conversation. I don't think this is applicable to you in that particular instance. So.
Sounds good. Thanks. And if as we move forward, if that does feel strange to somebody, Shannon, please feel free to speak up about it. I'm, absolutely fine to talk that through.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah. If you feel uncomfortable, please say so.
I will.
The application evaluation criteria, this is how staff evaluated these. This is kind of what we looked for as we went through them. So provide direct services to victims of crime, an explanation as to whether the applicant services provided are culturally responsive. That's in the solicitation. Priority is given to culturally responsive services. This is something, again, that we kind of will note. We noted it's not it is applicable in the sense that we will acknowledge it, but again, funding isn't attached. And so as we move forward kind of in that phase, priority will be given to those particular organizations. And then whether or not the application demonstrates how the use of funds will positively impact victims. And so this is how staff analyze this, and kind of when we have these conversations that we'll ask you all to provide some input on this. And so if at any point you need me to come back to this, I absolutely can. So this is these tables, these next few slides just are going to note these organizations that were requested, again, by these counties that made no changes. They were approved last time. I do want to note the little asterisk does denote the culturally responsive services, that they did indicate that in the application, and then the type of service in the county. And so I'm just going to kind of go through these. If you all have any questions specific to an organization, please ask me. But this was just kind of how we decided to bucket them. And I'll just kind of move through these. As we went through this, I think you all mentioned this, most of these organizations were the same. So it really wasn't a surprise that the majority of them didn't change.
Yeah, I would say that I so far I'm familiar with all of these organizations. I'm pretty sure Gil is too, and that this is, I think most of these have been receiving the money for at least a couple of cycles.
Yeah. So this also, and we appreciate this recommendation to bucket it this way, just because you all have the expertise to know these programs and to know what they are, and so kind of saving that time of going through them individually and just understanding that it is the same request. So really appreciate your all's recommendation to approach it in this way. And I believe, let me just double check. Oh, we have one more slide of these. This is the last slide of organizations that were approved last time. So if there's any that you all want to talk about, if there's any questions you all have, any sort of discussion that you want to have on these, we can definitely have them. If not, we're going to kind of assume that you all are good with these particular organizations moving forward in the process.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Okay, so the next couple ones there's a few new ones. There's some that are new to the county. So the organization, I think you all will be familiar with, but the county itself, it's the first time they're requesting. And so we wanted to just acknowledge that it's a new organization for them. So we'll walk through a couple of them, and then there are some at the end specifically where we would like your feedback. And so Curry County, they are doing requested that the SAFE project receive funding. This is not a new organization. It is utilized by another county, but it is the first time that Curry County will be using that. So I'm just going to pause here, let you all go through the description, and if you have any questions. Again, the evaluation criteria, those check marks is the staff analysis just based on what we saw and what was in the application. So if there's any questions on that, we can go through that as well.
I don't see any questions.
Okay, perfect. Again, this one is new to Curry County, and I believe this is a new organization for them as well. And so, again, staff analysis found everything. They met the evaluation criteria. So if you have any questions or comments, happy to go through it in a little bit more detail if needed.
Yeah, no questions here either.
Shannon, are you good? Okay, perfect. This is Lake County. Dove Advocacy Center is used by another county. They're utilized by another county, but this is new to Lake County. So I just wanted to recognize that. Also, the evaluation criteria by staff, you'll see that, and then just a short description of some services.
Yeah, absolutely. No questions.
Perfect.
Same.
Okay. All right. This one also, Haven, is for Wasco County, is also an existing organization that is utilized by other counties. It's new to Wasco, and then you'll also see the staff evaluation.
Yep, familiar with Haven.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So That was great. Thank you. We just have three more slides really to go through. These ones are new organizations for these counties. And so they haven't, as far as I'm aware, have not received funding, at least in the last grant cycle. They may have previously. I wasn't around previously, so I can't speak to that. But so these ones I think will just require a little bit more feedback. Gil, this next one is Deschutes County, just to kind of flag that. So if you're not comfortable at any point, just let us know. So this one, we staff would particularly like feedback on this one as it relates to, does it provide direct services to victims of crime? It's a restorative justice program. And so some descriptions there in terms of what they were asked, what the program itself does on the slide. I do have the application pulled up so I can get into more detail if you all have questions. But this is really kind of the feedback that we're looking for specifically for this one, is that first evaluation criteria.
I have a quick question. So is the name is the name of the program Deschutes County Victim Services, or is it Restorative Justice and Equity, or neither?
It's Restorative Justice and Equity is the
Equity,
actual program.
okay.
Yeah, it's
Thank
the
you.
county
Appreciate that.
itself is not an applicant. It just takes place in Deschutes County. So yes, so that is the program. And Deschutes had other programs, as you all saw. Those all have been approved in the past, and you all didn't have any issues. But this one, we are looking specifically at feedback on that first part. And wanted to get your input as to whether or not you think it meets that threshold.
You know, I don't, Gil, do you have insight? I'm not familiar with them. I mean, I'm actually right now just pulled up their website. It looks like there's a lot of work in Central Oregon, focus on Central Oregon schools. I don't know anything about these folks.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I haven't really engaged directly with this program myself either. I mean, from what I know about the county, who was a partner of ours, and they operate at a really high level. They're really thoughtful, and it looks like here there's, I think, some creative energy being put towards, how to involve crime victims in making sure that these risks are lowered, that when they are working with people who have committed crimes, that they're taking actions that might be helpful. So it's just, I mean, to me, it's just sort of like a creative way of using this funding. It's kind of how it comes across. I mean, I'm not sure if I have a comment on specifically on whether it's, I guess my question is, when you look at your evaluation criteria part on the slide and you have that first one is unchecked. I mean, how critical of a factor is that in making a funding recommendation or a decision to include them? It seems like there is a tie here, but it's a little different than some of the other ones, maybe.
If it's helpful, I can read from their application. There is a question in here about kind of their their kind of their mission. Explain your mission, how your mission focuses on providing direct services to victims of crime. I can give you a little bit more. So it says, and I'm just going to read this because I want to make sure that I get it across to you also. Sure. Just bear with me. But it says, central to this mission is our commitment to serving victims of crime through direct support, advocacy, and empowerment. We prioritize creating safe, accessible spaces where victims can be heard, supported, and connected to resources that meet their immediate long-term needs. And then they go, whether through individualized advocacy, crisis response, restorative justice options, or facilitated community conversations, our work ensures that victims are not only included, but centered in efforts to build a more just and resilient community. So that is kind of the overall mission of this particular organization.
Yeah, and looking at online, it looks like the work in schools, they're kind of looking at alternatives to like exclusionary practices, but presumably it looks like that would all be done with and in support of a victim. So I mean, it seemed. I mean, I don't know how they're actually practically doing things, but it does seem like this could in fact qualify as direct services to victim. I mean, you can't really engage in restorative justice practices without the victim's buy-in and engagement, I would think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would agree. And I mean, I just, from what I know about our county's, the juvenile justice and even adult parole and probation. I mean, I think they're really trying to look at things holistically and trying to link these different parts of what they're providing together in ways that are helpful. So that feels like what's happening here. There's work going on. This funding could assist with making sure that the overall community fabric is safer, and that includes services for victims of crime.
Can I make a suggestion maybe that would be helpful for you all in making this decision? If this moved forward and we did kind of check that checkbox. So to answer your question, Gil, that does need to be checked in order for it to move forward because it does have to meet that threshold. If you all could maybe approve it with the caveat that funds could only be directed towards victims of crime and not towards advocacy. So there's kind of that like very narrow use of funds within this program. I know that's kind of been done in the past with that particular kind of feedback. Is that something that would be helpful if we provided that to the applicant?
I guess that makes me curious to know what the budget looks like a little bit and how much money that they're thinking they would use for advocacy that the recommendation or guidance would be to stop doing that and switch it,
I mean, if that's not helpful, we don't have to. If you feel like it's not something that's necessary, we don't have to. I just know that there's just a need just to ensure that funds go to victims of crime. But if you all feel like they're meeting this threshold and they do provide those direct services, that's okay. We can take your feedback and move forward with it. We just need your input because we didn't quite know how to answer this one.
I mean, I think again, the devil's in the details, but it does seem like they are. It does seem like there's every intention, and they've talked about victims and survivors and how they're going to work with them. And I think historically, as long as they're covering things like that, we will defer to the county in putting together like their coalition, if you will, of providers that they want to fund. So I don't think I have additional questions really here. I don't know if I cannot remember if they have to do any kind of reporting back to the CJC on the use of funds. It would be nice to see in the next round, next year or whatever, next biennia, how the funds are used, if in fact that's something that's already part of the reporting criteria, but more because it is a creative and potentially holistic use of funds, and it would be nice to see what the results are, not because I'm critical of the distribution of the funds in this fashion. Does that make sense?
Yep. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And we can definitely track that. And Gil, I just want to kind of follow up on the budget and kind of seeing that budget and Shannon, also to your point of reporting. They haven't submitted their budget request yet. And so if there is a caveat or if there is specific feedback, we can give that to them that could then shape their budget request specifically. So if you feel like that's necessary, we can do that. If not, then again, to your point, Shannon, we do track that. And so it's something that we can look at as they move through this grant cycle and kind of at the end of the next one for sure. So
that's sufficient for my, because it was not a concern. It's more of I'd be interested in seeing how this works out and how it functions as a kind of system in the future. Okay. That's all.
Perfect. It sounds like you both are good with moving this one forward and kind of staff checking that first box for the evaluation criteria being met. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's yes. I'm good with that.
Perfect. Okay. Any other specific feedback that you all have for this particular program?
I mean, I'm just, as far as the reporting side of it, are they gonna get some feedback around what reporting might be? Because it's, I guess just to step back, it sounds like this might be a slightly different way that funds have been approved, or, they might be
Mhm.
getting approval for something a little bit different than others have had in the past, possibly, and so wanting to capture the results in the reporting. I mean, just maybe some feedback around that. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, we can provide
I
that.
thought Shannon stated it really well, but like this idea that maybe there's some holistic use of funding here. So just like understanding how that plays out. I think that's a good.
Okay.
I think that's a good way. I mean, maybe they should know. They should be informed that that's something that would be desired to be learned.
Okay. Very cool. Okay. All right. Thank you for this, your feedback on this particular program. Appreciate it. And we'll make sure when we do present it to the commission that particular box is checked, because we did not know. And so this is why we do this. Okay, so the next new organization is for Harney County, and it's Harney Hope. Again, for the staff evaluation criteria, we did feel like they met all of them. They met the threshold for all of them. So I'll just give you all a second to go through some of these summaries of their program, and then ask any questions or provide any feedback for them.
I'm familiar with Harney Hope. I have no questions.
Me neither.
Perfect. Okay. And then Wallowa, they have a new organization for them. It's Helping Hearts. This was not requested to be funded last time. Again, staff felt like it met all of the evaluation criteria, the threshold for that. So I'll just give you a second to go through the summary of that, and then any feedback or questions that you have on this particular application.
I'm familiar with this as well. I'm glad that they're
Perfect.
working with extending the funds to the program. That's great.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. That's all we have for questions. So I'm just going to quickly move into public comments. If there's any members of the public that are currently in this meeting, this is your chance to speak up. Again, just a reminder, keep it within 2 minutes if you do have something to say, and then we are not able to answer any questions. Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Perfect. Any questions from the two of you at all?
No, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. None for me.
Thank you so much for your flexibility. Shannon, thank you for coming in. Gil, I appreciate you being flexible with our start time, and going through these and providing feedback. Really appreciate it. And just your all's ability to kind of pivot on the new way that we did this with the bucketing and things like that. So we really appreciate your input. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and enjoy your weekend.
Thanks, you all
Well,
too.
thank you for accommodating my schedule. I really apologize for the inconvenience. Thank you, Gil.
No worries.
Yes, have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see y'all.